welcome and Bruchim Abuim to Professor Yuval Sinai. I know him already for a few years, but only by WhatsApp and by telephone, and by learning his beautiful Sfurim. Professor Yuval Sinai is a professor in the Mechlala Academic in Netanya, and he gave out a very choshev. What's the name of the book?
Maimonides and Contemporary Tort Theory.
Contemporary Tort Theory. We're going to hear about that. And Professor Yuval Sinai is a big mishpatan, but also a big Talmud Chochem. And this is what we learned from Seyd Nezikin. I had the schiyah to see his stuff and to talk with him. And I only תמיד אחרי שהיה לי טלפון איתך, אני הגשתי שאני צריך ללמוד יותר ולהבין דברים יותר טוב. אז אני מאוד מודה לך. And it's a big honor for us to have you. We're going to have a Metzshem 2 lectures today and the Metzshem Sunday. And I want to thank Zedek for taking care. He told me the special care that he told me.
Unbelievable, Zedek.
Special care. And Yoli for hosting this shir. Thank you so much. And I want to, like every shir, we welcome questions, but it has to be a seder. We have the professor, I'm the moderator, and I'll make sure every few minutes to open the floor, because we have him for a short while, but we're trying to get a lot. It could look a little bit boring maybe for people who are doing now more cheshemishpediga field, but it's very yisoidizig. I think it's kedai to listen from it's a different perspective how to look at in Torah HaMishpatim, and it's kedai to listen, and we'll have any questions, we'll make sure to open the floor every few minutes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. It's really a pleasure to be here, and I understand it's a very, very amazing group, individuals, and I just met here, and I see people know a lot, and well, I hope there will be some chidushim. Please tell me it's 2 hours more or less,
yeah.
with questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about law and economics 800 years ago. Let's start with a story. See this book, this is the end, this is the product, Maimonides and Contemporary Tort Theory.
No, it's very good. Thank you.
Maimonides and Contemporary Tort Theory, Law, Religion, Economics, and Morality was published in Cambridge University Press. So you can see that Yuval Sinai, Benjamin Shmueli is a professor from Bar Ilan, co-author, and Guido Calabresi. I want to speak a little bit about Guido Calabresi. This is a very important issue. Guido Calabresi, if there were Nobel Prizes in law, he would receive at least one. I think he's one of the 3 prominent scholars in legal theory in the whole world. He's a 92 years old man. He was the dean of the law school at Yale, the best law school in the world, and he's a senior federal justice in the Court of Appeals here, Second Circuit. And what he is very known, he and Richard Posner are the 2 of the pioneers of a field that is called law and economics, or economic analysis of law. It started from the 70s, and it's a trend, in most universities, especially in the United States, Europe, and Israel. This is a very, very important trend. And he is known as the sort of inventor of this field. And about more than 10 years ago, me and Benny said, many of the ideas of Calabresi, the Rambam wrote more than 800 years ago in Moreh Nevuchim. And we gave a lecture at Yale, and we invited him. Maybe you want to have a comment.
He's also Jewish, no?
So let's see. Let's start actually with, there's the movie. How can we connect the movie, the clip?
Movie?
Video?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's in the.
So just escape.
It was a series of in Israel. Maybe we should.
What happened? Froze?
Oh, we go back. I think we need to stop presenting.
Stoję na cygaczku.
Oh, now it's gone. Now it's
Sam,
gone.
let's take it.
No,
Okay.
okay, now we see. Look, this is a
that sound?
series of Maimonides, Rambam in the Israeli television, and this chapter is about our project. Let's see.
It has sound?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, the second
What
circuit.
happened?
Second.
I was there yesterday. It's not the Second Circuit, it's the Supreme Court, 60th Street.
It is a justice.
Is it Justice Calabresi?
This was
Many years ago,
Fordham,
a
Lincoln
great
Square.
Israeli scholar, Yitzhak Englert,
Supreme
said
Court Justice.
that many of the things that I had said had been said first by some German scholar in the 19th century. There's always some German scholar in the 19th century who has said everything. you
Ah,
can
look at
think
you.
of. Fortunately, they've said it in bad German, and so most people have ignored it.
He's a brilliant speaker.
But I must say, for any number of reasons, I would much prefer to be presaged by Maimonides than by some 19th century scholar. And that is what they have done, and I'm very grateful to them.
ללא כל ספק אולי אחד משניים שלושה המלומדים החשובים ביותר למשפט בעולם היום.
Maimonides is clearly concerned with how placing of tort's damages affects the amount of harm and who bears the cost of that harm and who bears the cost of saving.
אנחנו רגילים למעשה שהשם הוא זה שמשלם, הוא זה שאחראי. מגיע גוידו קלברזי out of the blue בסוף שנות ה-60, מגבש את זה בתחילת שנות ה-70, ואומר, נטיל אחריות לא על מי שאשם, שזה כבר מהפכה. זה קיים פה ושם בדינים שלנו, אבל לא ככלל אצבע. אנחנו נטיל אחריות לא על מי שאשם, אנחנו נטיל אחריות על מי שיכול למנוע את הנזק בצורה הזולה ביותר, הטובה ביותר, היעילה ביותר, גם אם הוא לא אשם.
הרמב"ם מדבר על הרציונל בעצם של ספר נזיקין, של משנה תורה. מסתכלים מי הוא מונע הנזק האפקטיבי, מי יכול למנוע בצורה האפקטיבית הטובה ביותר הנזק, ועליו אנחנו מטילים את האחריות, מטילים עליו בעצם תמריצים כדי שהוא ימנע את הנזק הבא.
תשמע, אנחנו היינו בטוחים זו תורה שהיא יחסית חדשה לחלוטין, ופתאום היא נמצאת 800 שנה וגם שם היא מאוד יחידנית.
הוא אימץ חלק מדברים שכבר מצויים בעצם אצל הרמב"ם, גישה יותר פלורליסטית, גישה שנותנת משקל בעצם לא רק לשיקול אחד, אלא כמה שיקולים.
I think that you read what he has written, and you see in that general notions of how the law should look after people, how the law accomplishes not just a settlement of a dispute between two people, but also is helpful to creating a better society. And his notion of law seems to be how you live in a world that is neither heaven, where you need no law, or hell, where you might have nothing but law, but one where you're in between.
רק רוצה להגיד לך, שעה שזה הולך, הם מתחילים לחייך. כי הם זוכרים בכמה, זה היה מה שדיברנו, לא ידעו מי זה הבן אדם הזה שעומד עכשיו מולם, אבל זה יסוד הזה.
זוכרים את השיעור שלו.
כן.
כן. So at the end of this conference, he said, well, we spoke about differences as well. He said, you know what, most of the things I said, Maimonides said before. And he took the poster of Maimonides. He said, could I take it for my grandchild and or something like that. So he became a fan of Maimonides. And
Tort. Yeah.
Tort law. We're talking about tort law. So, and this is very, very, I think, important. Yeah, I think to understand the relevance, from my point of view, usually when I teach Jewish law, especially in the United States, it's not. It has to have to be relevant to what they're talking about. It should be. If there's a difference, you should see what the difference is. If there are similarities, you can see what the similarities. It has to be relevant from my point of view. Okay, now let's. So the question is it actually possible to create a virtual dialogue between the two theories of law, contemporary law and economic theories, and the great eagle, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimonides, Professor Calabresi, and Richard Posner. Now, apparently, there is no common thread between these two theories, because, of course, Maimonides does not use economic analysis of law. Economic analysis of law, just explained, in one sentence, is concerned how the rules, the legal rules, would give a benefit to the human welfare. So, in economic terms, not in moral terms, not in religious terms, economically. Now, it means that if I have a factory here, although there's pollution and you're a neighbor and you suffer, because I have 100 workers with families and they benefit from that and benefit. So I'll pay him compensation. I'll give him a compensation to go to a better place to live.
What is contemporary law?
But I won't close the firm. I have to see what is the revacha mitzrafit, the benefit for the welfare, what is higher, and that reveals. What did you?
I'm just asking the definition of contemporary law, if you can expand on the definition of the theory, because you just call it contemporary law. The theory of tort law, one is called contemporary law. What is that?
No, contemporary law and economic theories.
Yeah.
Which one is the second theory?
The other theories are not contemporary, but old. When we talk about Maimonides, we can compare it to the Islamic, to Roman, and to contemporary tort law. Okay, so that's what law and economics is the most sophisticated. It's most scholarship, and vice versa. Contemporary law and economics don't incorporate in their theory religious prohibitions.
Let's say the economical way of looking.
That I understood, but what is the particular way?
I know that you understood, but it's also I want to say the economical way of looking is a lot of times we're gonna be mechayev so on that he is not even the Hashem. He's not the someone that we. But it's more economically efficiency for the world, for the benefit, and if we were going to put it on everyone, and even though he's not Hashem, but it's going to be the economical expense will be much more if you put it on every individual. We're going to put it on one person that he is, that's the economical approach. It's not going to look who.
Like me metapel belanvaile.
The economical approach is going to look what economically is more efficient for the world.
For the world, and the other one. And
the typical way of looking. The typical way of the Rishonim is always der Mazik is chayiv because
Hashem.
הוא השם, פשיעה, קבלת אחריות, כן? אחריות.
You know what? Let's. He's helping me. He knows the stuff. I'll give the elaborate this example. One of the most important books that Calabresi wrote is The Cost of Accidents, 1972. Cost of Accidents, and he said 2 or 3 important things. First of all, I'm not concerned whose fault is it and the moral issues after there was an accident. No, I want to reduce the cost of accidents to the welfare. How do I do that? How can I prevent accidents to happen at the beginning, not to use corrective justice after I'm a mazik, I'll pay. This is one thing he did. And then, as Rabbi Yonasan said, he invented a rule that is called the cheapest cost avoider. Let's look, let's go.
Isn't it the story with the company, with the battles? Yeah.
Cheapest cost avoider. Let's see the definition. Again, the objective of tort law is to prevent the cost resulting from a tort event, or at least to reduce them as much as possible. It's part of the theory postulating the need to reach optimal deterrence. The reduce of cost of accidents and of precautions. In his book, Cost of Accidents Calabresi developed the test known as the cheapest cost avoider. According to this doctrine, strict liability is not concerned in fault. It's not his fault. Strict liability is imposed on the entity that can prevent the damage in the cheapest way. So he gives example of drivers and pedestrians. Let's put the liability on drivers because they're the cheapest cost avoiders. He's using insurance as well and these kind of things. Usually they have a deeper pocket from the pedestrians. And let's, for instance, tell them that you have to regulate. Use cars with precautions, with something that even if you have an accident, the cause will be different. So we're not concerned who is in fault. We want the cheapest cost avoider, and the burden of liability and torts will be on him. Okay? Another thing, best decision maker, that's another knetch. Who's in and you have parallels in the Talmud as well of these kinds of things. Who is in the best position that can decide and has the knowledge to prevent the harm, the accident? Yes, it's not only the injurer that bears strict liability. Sometimes the best decider happens to be the injured. Let's give an example.
על הניזק להרחיק את עצמו.
כן, אבל...
שם זה נזקי שכן.
נכון, זה לא בדיוק אותו דבר. אני אתן את הדוגמה שהוא מביא, דוגמאות שהוא מביא. Medicine, Medicare. We have a factory, Teva. Usually the best decision maker and the cheapest cost avoider are these factories. We want them to invest to improve the products that will not poison you. But if you're doing something against the instructions of the pills, and you do it, you know that, and you're taking the risk, the liability will be on you. So it goes that way. It gives another good example.
1 second, that's not. It's the reason is because he's the best decider. It's not because the best decider, because it ceased to exist liability if you don't follow instructions. Not because you're the best decider.
In this case, he's the best decider because he's violating. He knows what the.
Let's say he's not the best decider. Should we put the liability on the company? He didn't follow the instructions.
He's asking why do you need this principle of best decider. The reason why we put the because he's
not following instructions.
He's not following the instructions.
Yeah, well, look, the best.
He either azik nafshai, he's mazik himself.
Yeah, it's best decider is a knetch of cheapest cost avoider. You can let's say he's the cheapest cost avoider. I think it's more
But is this in the same
you
way?
understand?
I don't want to.
Because for the firm, they're not in charge of people that are crazy, not doing according to the
doesn't follow
instructions.
policy, he gets fired.
Yeah, but if you do that, you should bear the liability because you changed it. Yeah,
Right.
and מה זה יקרה עצמו, פושע כנגד עצמו.
That's why he's asking. What does that have to do with the best decider? Even without
Or
the
the
principle
cheapest.
of the best decider, even if the cheapest decider.
Cheapest best avoider, because for your point
Now I'm
of
saying we
view,
don't have to have this Calabresi's rule to understand this.
I agree. There's you can have אשם תורם, מזיק כלפי עצמו, פושע כלפי עצמו. Others explained it in other way, but
Right.
from his point of view, this is the point of view, because he doesn't want to use fault.
He still doesn't want to use the fault, that even it's not going to say it's your fault that you didn't follow the instructions.
He doesn't want to use fault.
No, it's an important thing. It's an important thing to clear out when we think anything about torts, fault.
Okay.
And even instant.
I hear you. I need an example where you would where it would be
When
relevant.
Maimonides says that Udam eine Blamala,
That?
Udam eine Blamala,
No.
Yeah.
Right. No.
That's a fault, or that's also like also this the way the best decision
You
making.
could say it like that if you want to say that. Yes, very good. Yeah.
It's a methodology.
Right.
I agree, you can explain it in different places. We'll see that Maimonides,
It's very different in Israel than in America.
yeah.
And in Israel, it is best decided. In America, it doesn't work like that. In Israel, it's best decided.
I don't know. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, now, gentlemen, let's learn Torah, not Calabresi, okay? Let's see Maimonides, Moreh Nevochim. I remember 15 years ago, Benny, my colleague, I learned from him Calabresi's theory. I read his book a couple of times after that, but that's the first time. And you know, I was at his home, and I was sweating. He said, "Do you have here Maimonides? Moreh Nevochim? Let's see, third part, chapter 40. And let's see, what do you see here? The first source. We'll read it in Hebrew, yeah? And this is Schwartz edition. המצוות הכלולות בקבוצה החמישית הן אלו שמנינו בספר נזיקין. You know, in the third part he gives the rationale of the books. And this is very, very, you can learn a lot from here. כולם בשביל להסיר עוולות או למנוע נזקים. All the rules are או להסיר עוולות. מה זה להסיר עוולות? You know, to correct the wrongs. That's after I did a wrong, I need to corrective justice, I need to correct. Or למנוע, to prevent. Preventive measures. And this is a different notion. Yeah? And I think I wrote it here. Removal of wrong, it looked backwards. After the damage has already been done, it comes to correct the wrong, a type of Aristotelian corrective justice. And the prevention of damages, it looks to the future, and its nature is preventive. It is extremely similar to the approach of many proponents of the law and economics fathers, because we're talking how to prevent the cost of damages, how to prevent damages. Now, it's not only theoretical. You can look in Perek Chamishi of Ilchot Nizkei Mamon. There's a machloket, very interesting machloket, ben a Rambam and Ravid. What happened? I think I have the quote here. I didn't put it in the source. But just look at that And you can see the difference. בהמה שהייתה רואה ופרשה ונכנסה בשדות ובכרמים. רגע. אף על פי שעדיין לא הזיקה, מטרים בבעליה 3 פעמים. אם לא שמר בהמתו ולא מנעה מלראות, יש רשות לבעל השדה לשוחטה שחיטה כשרה, ואומר לבעליה בואו מכרו בשר. You can use preventive measures. Even he was not a mazik, but you can see he's not shomer about his behemah the next time. So I can shochet. I can use these preventive measures. What says the Ravid? First of all, it says that that's not in the Gemara. It's only when you have a ro'eh, אבל במי שיש לו עדר של בהמות, אין שוחטים לו כל עדרו, אלא אם יזיק, לעולם ישלם. So this is a nafkamina between these 2 points of view. Ravid says, oh, we'll wait. If you mazik, then removal of corrective justice. Maimonides is concerned about preventive damages. Now let's carefully read, and you know, after last year you learned Bobekama, you understand that what Maimonides says here is very, very strange for Talmudic למדנות. כדי להמריץ מאוד, אני ממשיך לקרוא, המצוות הכלולות במצווה החמישית, להסיר עוולות או למנוע נזקים, כדי להמריץ מאוד למנוע נזקים.
To incentivize.
Unbelievable.
למנוע.
לא, זה לא רק למנוע, להמריץ.
To incentivize.
I showed it to Calabresi, was almost had a heart attack.
Not normal.
heart attack. כדי להמריץ מאוד, למנוע נזקים, we're looking about incentives. Because, you know, let's understand that. Why Calabresi is talking about the cost of accident. You can't prevent all accidents. Even in the Talmud you said, we want a בהמה שתלך ברשות הרבים ושן ורגל היא פטורה, נכון? Because we want it. So, how can we give you incentives למנוע נזקים? מחייבים אדם בכל נזק הנגרם על ידי רכושו כתוצאה ממעשהו, and it seems like strict liability, שאדם יכול להקפיד ולשמור עליו, שלא יזיק. I want to be aware that you will be the most effective avoider. That's why I said Maimonides uses here a different rationale. Who's the most effective avoider? Let's see who can avoid the damage. לכן חויבנו בנזקים שבהמותינו גורמות כדי שנשמור עליהם. It's just the opposite from the Pshia concept. Pshia concept says, if you don't guard, shomer, then you're poshia. No, we put the liability on you because we want to give you incentives to guard them and to prevent accidents. חן אש ובור מפני שמעשה אדם, ויכולנו להקפיד עליהם ולשמור עליהם שלא ייגרם נזק על ידם. אש ובור.
Is everything the word incentive here? If it would have been, could I
it's not, no,
encourage?
It's preventive. The למנוע. The preventive aspect is the most important thing. We want to find who can prevent
but in all these instances, it's not only preventive, it's actually...
Let me just add something. Because the typical words that we would assume the Rambam should say, that the reason why Torah and Ezekiel, the reason why, because it's your money, as like you're a mazik, and that's why you have to pay, because you did the pesha, you did something. And was he writing, no, you know why you're the person that you're going to have to pay?
You're right.
Because we know that you're the best
you're
person
right. I saw these words, but if your theory is right, then he would have said, And the Torah was Yimechayev on a zikin of someone else's behind even though there's no rational sense on it because you are the most effective and I want to be the
Well,
Hamid.
that's what he said.
But it's only on his own behind and not on somebody else's behind.
Somebody else's other person.
No.
That balabas.
Well, let's say that guy died, okay?
What?
Let's say that behind the head
Which
of
Achatimsa? I don't understand.
Let's say he doesn't say
Which
that it's...
Achatimsa are you talking about? I'm saying the most affected is the person that owns it. That's normally the most affected.
Right.
Which example do you have?
Let's say there's a behind running, his boss is on vacation, now you're mechiyev because you saw it, and just because you're the most effective and I want to incentivize you to save the society in lemnoi ra. He doesn't say that. He says, you're behind that we all understand there is liability anyway. The Torah wants to encourage you.
Okay. I understand the question. Okay, no.
Okay.
First of all, let's read, I think, all the part, and I think it would answer some of your hesitations. I want to say something about Maimonides. Look, he's not Calabresi. He's not writing a theory. His methodology is important.
Exactly.
He's frum. He's frum.
Right.
He uses the rules of the Talmud. He's not writing a model. That's the great difference. It's a big difference. So he explained it. We'll see it in Arba v'Chamisha afterwards. It's unbelievable. He's not. Maybe you can write different rules, but he's explaining the rules of the Torah.
He's giving a new toichen to the rules.
Let's see.
He's not going to make up the rules now. The rules at the end of the day is only your behavior.
Because he's a rational thinker. He's saying all mitzvot in the Torah is for the benefit of society. That's what he's trying to say.
It's not the benefit, it's to prevent.
Yeah, but now it's talking prevention.
It's talk about prevention.
And society wants prevention.
No, there's nobody wrote about
It's a theology of
before
it, not a tort.
Nobody wrote about prevention. Not in the Talmud.
No one.
Actually, people told me I was at Yale to see if Islamic law or Aristo. Nobody spoke about it, and that was a sheila. From where did Maimonides see this notion so important?
Where?
I think, he's new as the pioneer of preventive medicine.
Yeah, all his medicine is preventive. Okay.
Yeah, he's always and he had a hospital. He was not only doctor of the Sultan. You have a Igeret. He works all day with all his slaves, and that cost benefit. He was like a manager of a hospital, and he was the inventor. The Sultan said, people tell me you're the best doctor in the world. I was never sick. Maimonides says, but I'll tell you when to eat and how to eat and what to do not to be sick. We know in Chodeot, we know.
Yeah.
So Maimonides was known as a preventive, and I think you can see it here. Libi Omerli, that thing.
There was no other medicine but preventative.
And he always compares medicine.
It's very nice.
From his, look, that's him. And we'll see it in Arba v'Chamisha. Dinim ele, yesh b'midah shel tzedek. He's called it tzedek, although it's not moral, it's economic.
It's economic justice.
שהסב את תשומת הלב עליה. שהרי שן ורגל ברשות הרבים פטור. מפני שזה דבר שאין יכולים להקפיד עליו. ואין מזיקות שם לעתים רחוקות. מי שמניח דבר ברשות הרבים, פושע נגד עצמו, וחושף את רכושה.
The music is the most effective.
This is most effective, of course.
That's
That's the same thing. We're looking. Look at his explanation. It's unbelievable. We're looking. It's something that precautions will not help us. איך אומרים הסבירות, לעתים רחוקות. And you can do it better. Don't put your stuff there. Actually, these three terms, it's called the learned hand. You heard of the learned hand? He used the same thing. He said, what is the precautions the cost of precautions, the cost of accident that would happen, and what is אחוזים, סבירות.
Percentage.
The percentage. That's what he did. This is what Maimonides says.
Yeah.
These three, and let's see again. בעליה של בהמה חייב על השן והרגל בשדה הניזק בלבד. אבל מפני, so how does it explain קרן? עסקה שכן כיוצא בה, יכול בעליה של הבהמה לשמור, וההולכים ברשות הרבים אינם יכולים להישמר מנזק זה. Look, it's a different explanation. It's law and economics. What is he doing here? Let's see who's the most effective.
To be מנהל the נזק.
Yeah.
To prevent the damage.
לכן דינה של קרן בכל המקום אחד, that's why מיר מחייב אין קרן. יש בה הבחנה בין תם ומועד. עכשיו, למה יש חצי נזק?
Distributing justice.
כי אם המעשה הזה חריג, הוא חייב חצי נזק, המזיק ממשיך להזיק לדבר מודע, חייב נזק שלם. He's not sure who's the most effective one. That's why he splits it. So this is very interesting, and I have to tell you, I started with I'm very yeshivish, and I like the Hakira of the first halacha in Sefer Nezikim, the Rambam, Maimonides,
Even Hazel.
yeah, Even Hazel, if it's Pshia or Maimonides, from
the manuscript.
I have to say that after you read Maimonides, you understand it's not what he meant there. It's not what he meant here. Let's see if we have the verse. The most important thing, כל ממון שברשותו של אדם חייב שהוא ממונו. So the most important thing is רשותו, his control. If it's his control, that's the מבחן. That's
the test.
That's the test.
Is the control.
Mamono, it's not important. Actually, I figured that you see it in the Geniza, he added it afterwards.
What did he add afterwards?
מפני שממונו.
Why?
Meaning to say, because no, what he's saying is that this indicates that you can't explain Mamono is the reason by paying. That's what the yeshivas understood, because it can be the Rambam added after. That means say in his original nusach, he didn't even have these words.
More than that, why did he add that? Because he divided. There was one Sefer Nezikim, all the bubbles, and then he did deviation between parts, and Hilchot Nezikim became Sefer Nezikim, and then Hilchot Nizkei Mamon is not a chapter, but halachot. You understand? He divided. So when he wrote Hilchot Nizkei Mamon, the same time you see he added Mamonoizik. He was very, he was a yeke, although he was in Egypt. He wanted.
What did he do? He took Hilchas Nezikin and divided.
First of all, like in the Talmud, everything was in one Sefer Nezikin. He divided to three. Mishpatim, Kinyan, Nezikin. And then, what was Sefer Hilchot Nezikin? It became Sefer Nezikin. And what was a chapter in the first edition of Hilchot of Nizkei Mamon? Now it became Hilchot Nizkei Mamon. And when he invented this group, Hilchot Nizkei Mamon,
so that's it, when
the
he
same
uses
time,
the word Mamon.
always in the first halacha, he uses the title.
Language of the title.
Yeah.
That's why he added after that.
Wow.
That's not an explanation from the halacha.
And this explains.
I remember, but they're doing it.
This explains a lot of problems.
Yes, I'm waiting.
Look, why does the Mechayev on Esh and Bo? He's not the owner of it. He's not Bailim. So we have Reb Shimon Shkop as genius, you know. It's like intellectual property. It's like intellectual property. But according to Maimonides, it's not the test. It doesn't need to be Mamono. It's his control, like he says. Maaseh Yadei Adam. If it's something you did,
we can incentivize you.
That's
the test is if we're creating incentives.
And the Tzemzer Rab that says that there's no such thing as Mamono Zik, it doesn't make sense. He's correct. There's no, because you don't have, he did, the Tzemzer Rab said, there's no real Hakira. There's no two sides. You can't, And Maimonides never meant that because it's mamono, you're mechayev. He meant what he wrote here, and you have something, because we had a very interesting conversation because before that, maybe Professor Brody and others told me, okay, he wrote it in the Moreh Nevochim, but who says that's what he means in the Mishnah Torah? So we came back and we find at least one halacha that says the same idea. Let's see the last halacha, page number 4. Shor shel nochri, page number 4, source 10. שור של נוכרי שנגח שור של ישראל בין תם בין מואב משלם נזק שלם, קנס הוא לגויים לפי שאינם זהירים למצוות, אינם מסלקים היזקם. Now let's look carefully. אם לא תחייב אותם על נזקי בהמתה, אין משמרים אותם ומפסידים המון הבריאס. Unbelievable, huh? Unbelievable. באמת קטונתי, גדולי ישראל, but this is what Maimonides said 800 years ago. Calabresi, not he became okay. So this is one thing. Of course, I gave you. So in his code, let's two bases for imposing compensation. One basis is control because it's in position of a person, possession. That's reshuto. Actually, it explains another thing that Even Ezel is why an Eved. Why an Eved? Why Maimonides said you're not chayav and the nizakim your Eved, your slave does. Yeah. It's your property. It's mamono. But if you look on the words there, Maimonides says lefi sheino birshuto. It doesn't have control of him. That's the mivchan. That's the mivchan. If you have control.
But the chiddush is, I just want to say, because Shito is the time is, with the Mishnah says, but the Rambam learned that this is not a tekona, this is a deraisa degedin, because the concept of nezikin, when the eved is the most, how do you call the effective preventer from this, then there's no way that there's no such a halacha that because it's your money, you're mechiyah. It's because you're who is the most effective to be menayed this nezek.
And if you don't have control,
then you can't be mechiyah.
So what's technically the halacha if it snows and you don't shovel?
If it snows,
you don't shovel. Somebody walks by, slips and falls. The best what happens.
Es ist kein Ball, wenn es schneit. Ball, es ist kein Ball, wenn es schneit. Is asking Shelik, no? Shelik Balucha?
Look, in Egypt it doesn't have, it didn't have any snow.
No, but Taka, so you slip and fall.
Slip and fall. So what's the preventive measure?
Because that's a good measure. If it's like Bashito, if it was preventative, who's the alle tests?
One second, let me just add one more thing.
There's a lachaim bor that if you know and you don't do anything about it, you're mechayev. It's like the best decision. It's like the best decision maker.
So what happens?
It's like the best decision
in New York
maker.
City, if you don't shovel your snow, you get a ticket. Not because somebody fell, because you didn't shovel your snow. The preventative.
But then you think this is much smaller cost to prevent the bigger cost.
So
like you're saying.
The preventative of the lawsuit.
He's not a balim on the bor, and he just knows the bor will niftach. והוא ידע ולא אמר על זה, so ידיע, it's like the best decision maker. Calabresi says the same thing. If you're here around and you see the sidewalk, so although you're not the municipality, it's not yours, but you know and you didn't call, and so you're the best decision maker. You should, okay, but this is.
Why is a mazik chayv?
My question is, what's the sentence?
Why is a mazik chayv?
Okay, you ask him why is it put about
that's
by niska mom you put about you're talking about niska odom.
Look, this is a very, very sophisticated issue. I called Maimonides point of view is pluralistic and differential. Pluralistic, it means there's not only one aim for tort law. We talked about preventive, but he said the corrective justice is this. He said, or. And when you come to Mishneh Torah, he's frum, religious. Perek Chamishi, he talks about the Isur Le'azik. All the yeshivot said what Isur is. From my point of view, Maimonides waited to Perek Chamishi because it's not important. That's the most important. Not like you learn in
59 or whatever.
no, what's it called? The Talmud, Kamenitz, Shmuel, yeah. Shmuel. Yeah.
It's titled.
תלמיד של רב חיים, כן? אז, no, he put it on deliberately on the fifth perek. It's not, and the first is, like we said, the control. But there's two questions. That's, first of all, pluralistic, because there's different aims, and he's differential. Differential, it means in each part of Nezakim, there's a different level of oinus. You know, Niskei Mamon, if it's Adam HaMazik, it's different. If it's Niskei Mamon, it's different. If it's a Chotzeach, it's different, and I have a whole explanation why is it different. So the first...
Yeah. Within the TDO.
Yeah, but it's along the...
Okay.
But what is interesting, even according to Maimonides, even in Ones, Adam HaMazik Chayav be'Ones, אם זה מכה בידי שמיים, you have the ladder, yeah, that breaks, he didn't know, he's patur. It's not really strict liability, it's almost. Calabresi uses, and modern law and economics, 100% a strict liability. The difference is, Maimonides' time they didn't have insurance. When you have insurance, you're not looking on every individual. You have to have insurance, and there's a big. So there are differences.
But there is not from the Isla Hazik, but there is by the Chiyuv Lishmoid. The Calabresi is not his first chiddush. I think he mentions this that Jews have this thing that if you see something happening, you're supposed to try to stop it. Not a chiyuv nazik, but if you see somebody is drowning, you're supposed to it's a little bit like the Isla Hazik, the opposite for Calabresi that he says even when it's not your.
There's differences. Look, the book is showing that Maimonides is a pluralistic. He has the religious aspect and he has the economics. I'll give you one example for that, and that's unbelievable. לא תקלל חירש. No legal system will say what Maimonides says about לא תקלל חירש. מקור 5, source 5. No damage. No damage. He didn't believe in Ain Hara. He doesn't hear. There's no damage. Not like Sefer HaChinuch says. הוא אומר, היה עולה בדעתנו שכוונת התורה שאסרה קללת אדם מישראל, כי אם הוא שומע את זה, מחמת הבושה והצער המגיעים לו. אבל קללת חרש כיוון שאינו שומע ואין מצטער בכך, הרי אין חטא בדבר, לפיכך השמיעה לו שהוא אסור. והזהיר עליו, לפי שאין התורה מביטה על מצב המתחרף בלבד, אלא מביטה גם על מצב המחרף, שהוזהר שלא יעורר נפשו לנקמה ולא ירגילנה לכעוס. This is a religious point of view of corrective justice, to correct yourself, to correct your midas.
Why do you bring it in to Calabresi? What is that?
Because this is a difference. That's what he said. He's not 100% Calabresi. Calabresi will not say these things. Right. We don't think you're not. What do you need to prevent? What's the problem here? He says maybe you should prevent it.
No, because Calabresi is not ruling on morals.
Yeah, but Calabresi will explain something very interesting about that. If people cannot manage their nerves, it's very dangerous. That's what Maimonides says here.
Right.
Tomorrow, tomorrow, and then he'll burn his house, and then he'll kill.
But that's not so. I mean, like then it would have been like Lisikal Shim Adam. Lisikal Cheresh has something to do.
חרש מסתכל אפילו חרש חזר.
אין לך למה, but the Rambam is mazbeh the Cheresh.
No, but I will mazam, the Torah will rausbringen. Cherish zeite, wo the Torah will. Cherish indicates what the Torah wants.
Okay, now let's start the real thing. Okay? This is only the opening.
It's a million.
And 4 ו5. This is achidah. If someone will give me a rational kefel 4 ו5, I'll give him $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but I'll give him.
We have a lot of different rationales.
Not comprehensive. Ushrash bachet, kavod habriot, because he puts the sheep on the.
Why 4?
It doesn't.
That's
Maimonides doesn't. He knows these things, and this is not what he explains.
Right.
Let's see what Maimonides does. First of all, and this is something very special. He's talking about parameters considering criminal sanctions, and let's see here in Hebrew, in source number 8. He says in chapter 41, and here he does write a model. He wants to explore 4 parameters. He explains all the sanctions, the criminal sanctions that we have in the Torah. דע שגודל העונש בחומרתו, הכאבתו או קצנותו והקלות לשאת אותו הם בהתחשב ב4 דברים. So the level of punishment depends on 4 parameters. First of all, the severity of crime. הראשון, חומרת הפשע. כי המעשים שנוצר מהם קלקול גדול, עונשם חמור. מעשים שנוצר מהם קלקול פעוט ומועט, עונשם קל. So here you can say it's deontologic, okay? If you have kilkul, although he's talking about social kilkul, not, this is something interesting. But 2, 3, and 4 is fascinating. השני, תדירות האירוע. מה זה the frequency of the crime. יש למנוע בעונש חמור, דבר הקורא לעתים תדירו. Deterrence. 2, 3, and 4, deterrence. ואילו עונש קל יספיק כדי למנוע דבר הקורא לעתים רחוקות. שלישי הוא חומרת ההתפתות לדבר. This is the amount of temptation. כי מדבר שאדם מתפתה לעשות, או מפני שהתאווה מגרה אותו מאוד לעשותו, מפני שהוא רגיל מאוד לעשותו, או מפני שקשה מאוד שלא לעשותו, היא לא יימנע אם לא צפוי לו דבר חמור. Driving with the cell phone. Being a teller in the bank. Very interesting issue. And רביעי, the most important, it's הקלות לבצע את המעשה בהיחבא ובסתר, באופן שאחרים לא ירגישו בו. להרתיע מזה ניתן רק בעונש כבד וחמור. The facility with which the act may be done secretly, unseen and unnoticed. What are the chances that you'll be caught? There's a rule, if you can't caught, so you need these 4, these are the parameters. Let's take the test case. The test case that is explained by these parameters is kefel 4 ו5. This is what he does. Okay, let's read it. It's, here he has, it's source number 9. At the end of 9. Here, there's a really, there's a great sheila, or a couple of sheilot. From our point of view, who would we think would have a more severe punishment? Gazlan or Ganav?
Gazlan.
Gazlan, because he's doing it aggressive. And Ganav he's doing secretly. But kefel 4 ו5
is only Ganav.
Only Ganav, not Gazlan. And for God's sake, what is the difference between לגנב לגזלה? למה יש כפל ולמה יש יותר מזה, 4 ו5? למה 4 ו5? And you need to pay על שור ושה. What is the difference? Why, if you slaughter and sell it? Let's see how Maimonides explained. You never saw this kind of explanation. Unbelievable. And this is really law and economics. You know, when I remember when you saw that we learned with him, when he learned this chapter, Calabresi was thinking about these 4 parameters. He said, the temptation I never think about. It's something very, very sophisticated. And let's see what he writes here. מה בין גנב לגזלן? את הגזלן אין מחייבים היטל נוסף בבחינת...
That's page 4.
Page 4. And now it's called punitive damages. Punitive damages, you pay more than the nezik you caused. Yeah, that's punitive damages. כפל 4 ו5. בגלל מיעוט מקרי גזלה. There's not a lot. נזק הגנבה מצוי יותר מהגזל. Why? So this is the second parameter. The frequency, השכיחות. Why? כי הגנבה אפשרית בכל מקום, ואילו הגזל אפשרית בתוך הערים רק בקושי. ועוד שהגנבה אפשרית במה שגלוי ומה שנזהרו להסתיר ולשמור. ואילו הגזל מתאפשר רק במה שגלוי וחשוף. And another reason, האדם יכול להישמר מפני הגזלן, and we want to deduce the precautions. Let's put someone in the entrance that would, in the bank that nobody can rob there. דבר זה אינו אפשרי ביחס לגנב, because he comes secretly in different places and times. כמו כן הגזלן ידוע. The chances that he could be caught are much higher, because he can't disguise himself. You find him. ניתן לחפש אותו לצפות להשבת מה שלקח. ואילו הגנב אינו ידוע. מכל הסיבות האלה הטילו קנס על הגנב ולא הגזלן.
Which parameter is this? The top is it? Which is it? 4. 4. The 4. Kalut. So, for God's sake, this is cost benefit.
If you could please summarize in English the Rambam what he said and how it goes with all 4. Not everyone. If you could please summarize the Rambam.
Okay. First of all, we see the primary aim is to achieve deterrence. He's not concerned about the first parameter, because from that point of view, even Gazlan is more severe.
Right.
But from the 3 others,
3 other rules.
Rules, if you look cost benefit and whatever, people are businessmen here. What is better to be? What the risk is not so high to be a gonev, not a gazlan. So we need more deterrence for him. So let's see. The act of robbery involves a relatively high potential cost to the robber, expressed in both the direct cost of performing a robbery. Robber means gazlan. And 2, the risk involved in the capture. It is therefore reasonable to assume that the different effect against performing a robbery was relatively strong. The thief, a gonev, however, is aware of the low risk of getting caught, and he is prepared to take chance and proceed with the theft. Maimonides' consequentialist analysis might receive support from the comparison of the thief to the robber from the point of view of their incentive, the cost-benefit analysis. Moreover, Maimonides' approach is also unique because not only does it consider the risk management of the tortfeasor, but the precautions of the potential victim can take. Let's see not only from your point of view, but what precautions Hanigzal v'Hanignav could make. Maimonides' reasoning, a man can guard against a robber, they get a gazlan. Be careful and prepare for him. This is not possible with respect to thief. So this is an important economic element here, imposing certain degree of obligation on the injured party to take preventive measures against
the last point. It would be probably the opposite in my rational mind, but
why?
because with a robber, he came with force. But a thief, you better make better precautions. Like I prevent every day from people thieving from me, but I cannot prevent a robber.
Again, we're not. Maybe you can explain what's interesting here. His methodology.
Right.
That's
what I'm saying.
That's a very important point that he made before, and I think it's more important that the methodology, because he's not inventing the dinner.
Right.
He has a Gemara,
Right.
but it's very important when you can ask, does it make any difference in halacha after that? Yes. The methodology make a difference, but he can't move away what the Gemara says. But when he gives this as the meaning, it's going to change for future questions. We're going to use this methodology.
Yeah,
right.
This is really the meaning.
Yeah,
but he can't. But he has restrictions. So it could be you're going to explain that the economical way would be better about the different way. But he's mechir to this. But using and explaining with this methodology shows you what's important for him in tort laws.
Okay, gentlemen. What about? It's interesting. What about 4 ו5 צאן ובקר? Let's see his explanations. דעת שכל שמינה של הפשיעה מצוי יותר וקל יותר לביצוע. That's parameter 2, yeah? We didn't say about temptation. Of course you have more temptation to be a gonov than a gozlan, yeah? It's
People don't know about
no doubt. דע שכל שמינה של הפשיעה מצוי יותר וקל יותר לביצוע, חייב העונש שלה להיות חמור יותר כדי למונו. ואילו דבר שקורה לעתים נדירות, עונשו קל יותר. לכן הקנס על הגונב צאן הוא כפל הקנס על שאר המטלטלים. כוונתי לתשלומי 4, וזאת בתנאי שיצאו מידו במכר או בתביכה. slaughtered, כן, מוכר וטובח, and selling, כי גנבת הצאן היא המרובה ביותר תמיד, בשל היותם בשדות. במקום שאי אפשר לשמור עליהם, כמו ששומרים על דברים בתוך הערים. I don't know if he's correct factual, but let's see his explanation, his methodology. It's very hard for us to protect because they're outside. They're not indoor, they're outdoor. And לכן הנוהגים הגנבים למהר ולמוכרם. What is the best thing? It's like when you steal a car for its parts. You can't detect it. You can't find it afterwards. Yeah? הגנבים, I think he's talking about the serial gonav. The one that is we want to have deterrence against the serial gonav. The one that will slaughter and sell.
That has the ability.
Professional thieves.
The professional thieves. Look his explanation. It's not.
That has a junkyard to sell the pieces.
Yeah. לכן נוהגים הגנבים למהר מוכרם כדי שלא יהיו קרויים בידיהם. או לטובחם כדי שגופם ייעלם. לכן היה עונשו של הדבר המרובה ביותר גדול יותר. Because the chances, that's 4, parameter 4, the chances that he would be caught are very
slim to nothing.
Yeah. עכשיו, now בקר לעומת זה. Let's see his explanation. Unbelievable. לקנס הגנבת בקר נוספה עוד יחידה. 5. מפני שיותר קל לגנוב אותם. שהצאן רואים מכונסים, כך שאפשר לרועה להשגיח עליהם. לרוב ניתן לגנוב אותם רק בלילה. ואילו הבקר רואים מפוזרים מאוד. דבר זה הוזכר בחקלאות, ואי אפשר לרועה להשגיח עליהם, לכן מרבים לגנוב אותם. Cowboys, you know, again, I'm not sure it's factual. I'm not sure he was a farmer.
But look at himself. He says, "Davar ze hisku b'chaklot." This is how in the books. You look at the books.
You look in the books. He looks in the book. But let's see his methodology. It's unbelievable. He's looking deterrence, and he's looking deterrence from both sides. Incentives. What would be the rule to prevent? Again, the deterrence is how to prevent. Right. Yeah, and that's what Calabresi saw in the film. He's always thinking, you know, economically, cost benefit. So, yeah, that's the difference. And this is a chidush. The chidush. The הטלת רמה מסוימת של אחריות על הנפגע בכדי שינקוט אמצעי מניעה שונים. Today if you have punitive damages, it could be very high. Very high. Now we're writing an article. Let's learn from Maimonides
sometimes to not to make the punitive damages too high, because we want, people are suffering from cigarettes or something like that. They're going, they'll suffer, and then they could sue and can get punitive damages. And it's a problem in the United States. But if you look in Maimonides, he's saying, we're looking about you, what measures you can do, what precautions you can do. And it's easier to prevent stealing sheep than cattle, because they're gathered together. So that's why it's arba, and bakar it's harder than it's chamisha. So let's see.
No, opposite. Bakar is easier, that's why it's concerned.
It's easier
To steal.
to steal. I'm talking about from the point of view of the Bible. Of the Bible.
Yeah.
So, in many ways, Maimonides adopts what we could say today optimal deterrence. We'll see. Unbelievable. Two Jews.
You were saying about today that we shouldn't make punitive damages too high, because if it becomes too high, then it's not anymore optimal as far as, because people are going to want to start suing, basically.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying. So we say it's not.
Maimonides,
Just that it loses that optimality.
Maimonides showed us to look not only on the tortfeasor, to look on the victim as well. This is very important. He's always comparing these two. And, okay, according to Maimonides, biblical law seeks to preserve the cheaper methods of raising sheep and cattle and prevent their theft by increasing the cost to the thief through an increase in compensation. He regards the frequency of act of slaughtering and selling as the element affects the need to deterrence from the consequentialist aspect, separate from the religious dimension. Again, well, as we said, the thief of a sheep used therefore to sell it quickly. I say the statement may be explained in two ways, and I prefer the second one. These are the professional thieves of sheep, of cattle. And okay, now I want to see, this is not Calabresi, these other two Jews that say today law and economics, the same thing. It's called the multiplier idea. There's different parallels. I'm not sure I'll show all of it. Let's see about the multiplier approach. Multiplier approach, two professors in Chicago, Chauvel and Polinsky, said that he gave economic rationale for the multiplier approach. Sometimes one may think that punitive damages would lead to over-deterrence, but the multiplier approach, the common economic analysis of law of punitive damages, suggests otherwise. Since many injured parties do not actually sue, due to difficulties of identifying the tortfeasor, suing him, and enforcing the judgment against him, and many tortfeasors end up not paying, merely requiring tortfeasors to pay for the damage they caused would result in under-deterrence. Because, let's see if I'm a driver for a doctor. If I'll be caught in 20 times, it's worth it. I'll pay a ticket, and it's worth it. You have to have the ticket very high, because it will be under deterrence. They explain the enforcement of punitive damages increases the level of deterrence order to potential, mostly serial and mass tortfeasors, ultimately resulting in optimal deterrence, provided the correct amount of punitive damages is awarded. And the award of punitive damages is intended to preclude under deterrence and under enforcement. That's why they display element of efficiency.
This is a question that is not specifically in Ezekiel. This is a question of all punitive law.
Yeah.
How much you want to...
Yeah.
כדאי לשוסה,
Is there an upper limit? Like, is there a downside of going
Well, this is what we say against them. There's no limit. And Maimonides says, let's look on the other side
But
as
where do you
well.
see any of this ideas in the Maimonides? That's what I'm asking. Where do you see? You're saying
What we saw here.
this idea that
What we,
that if you go
what
too
we saw
hard-
here, because what says Maimonides? Why do you need to pay 4 ו-5? Because the chances you'll be caught are very low. Very low. And to have to deterrence, that's what he says. Those that slaughter and they do it fat. And if you sometimes you caught them, they have to pay at least four times. That's a whole.
No, but what's the relation to say that if you're going to say that, let's say the Torah would say you have to charge them 100, not about 5.
Again, the same answer I'm saying. Rambam was frum. Okay, he explains his methodology on the rules of the Torah, but you can see from these 4 parameters and from his reasoning that from his point of view, if he would have a discretion, he would not be binded by the Torah.
I'm just curious, because you said it already multiple times, and I think I agree with that, but I'm curious the way that you're going to explain it. What does it mean when you say he's frum, but he's going to put this methodology, when really this methodology, if we would follow it to the end, we would need to change a little bit some type of, So we're saying, but listen, he has to listen to the law, but he can give a new explanation to the law. What kind of way of commentary is this? What kind of way is this of, I'm just curious if you have a model in your head.
Look,
what does it mean?
it's,
You have to the text, not to the spirit of the text. How do you understand such a kind of way that you're telling he's frum, so he needs to keep this body how it is, but he could give in a new neshama, a new neshama, a new methodology. What kind of? I'm curious. I don't argue with you. I'm just trying to understand.
It's a good question. I think he believed in this idea, this concept, and in places that he has free discretion, he would use it. For instance, we know that in criminal law, you have onshei Torah.
Right.
But בית דין מקים ועונשים שלא על פי דין
שלא
תורה.
בדין תורה.
ומשפט המלך, רמב"ם ומימון המלכים.
But my question is.
So there, where you have discretion.
No, but it's more than that, because he is really trying to explain some laws of the Torah. He's trying to explain with this concept, and my question is, if you agree, now you could have told me that you don't agree. You think it could go with, it could fit with everything, but you a few times here in this lecture reiterated again and again that it's only the methodology, because at the end of the day he is a firm and he has mechuyav to these things. I'm asking, what kind of way of commentary is this of perush, that you explain something that really you know that this is not the thesis of these laws. I
don't think he does. He doesn't think it's not the thesis of the law. But he thinks I'm binded to the law, and I don't have a discretion to deviate.
But why should he have it? Why should he want to go against the law?
Thinks.
Why
you see chapter 41.
Yeah.
He explains all the criminal sanctions in that way. It's a very sophisticated way. So it's
so
really
why do you
a theory.
say the whole time it's only methodology? Why can't you say it's not only methodology?
It's a good question.
אני רק נתפס לדברים שאתה אמרת.
כן.
אני אומר, אם אתה, יכולת להגיד, שיטת הרמב"ם זה התיאוריה שלו, וזה הוא מפרש כל התורה, הכל זה פיקס. אם אתה לא מבין את זה, אתה לא מבין את החשבון הכלכלי של הרמב"ם. אבל אתה אמרת לא ככה, אתה אמרת לא. אני מבין שזה לא בכל מקום זה כל כך מתואם עם המחשבה הכלכלית, והרמב"ם צריך קצת להגיד ככה וככה. אני לא יודע, אם אתה אומר את זה, אני שואל איזה מסוג של פרשנות זה, שאתה מפרש עם תיאוריה שאתה יודע שזה באמת לא מתאים.
לא, אז אני חושב, I understand what you ask. And something in between. It means, he's not lying. You know, he thinks, and I think, do you have a better explanation for Kefel 4-5?
No.
Okay.
It's a very nice
explanation. It's a very nice explanation.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
And this is Rambam. This is really Rambam. This is Maimonides. Let's see.
He's saying, but at the end of the day, he's mechuyav to the Talmud, and he's not going to argue
so
against.
halachically, that's the difference between, and that I agree. That's the difference between Moreh Nevuchim and Mishneh Torah. I always, in the book, I started with the Talmud, Mishneh Torah, Moreh Nevuchim, and then I came back.
Right.
And I see that he does have slight changes, like I showed you, the explanation in the Mishneh Torah, but they're slight. It's not that he's using the rules of the Talmud, and he has the thesis, the explanatory. So this is what we have in the third part of Moreh Nevuchim and a lot of rules. We have the explanation, and we're not, and you can use this explanation to go out.
Very good.
But he doesn't.
He wants to add something.
Yeah, I was wondering, not in this vein, because this is in the Rambam itself, and a book of law within 100 years, the 13th century. You see in Spain, the kings had all these laws that if somebody kills Jews, you have to pay 100 whatever gold pieces to the crown, 10 to the Jew, and there is the debates all the time. The following. One is if you're going to make it too hard. The king was okay to charge a lot of money because he made money. It was very dangerous to kill Jews because you had to pay the king, but the people, the localities fought it, and these arguments go like that. If you make these damages too high, the people are just going to leave. They can't live there, so you're going to lose your agricultural taxes. If you're going, and the king himself understood that just 10% are going to pay for it, but it was still like a balance. Every now and then you kill Jews, and this is there is thousands of documents in Castile and Aragon on this debate within 100 years of the Rambam. Meaning, the idea of punitive damages, even though this is not interpersonal,
I agree.
It is a very. I'm wondering why you're pushing it on the Rambam. It was a very real.
He said nobody else said it.
I agree. This is a very. That's what I say. Bedi Makim Vonshi. Look, all the practical. Rashba says in the 13th century in Spain that it's 100 years after Maimonides. That, say in Arabic, dir balak, don't use the Torah law. Torah law, it's a disaster. Use only Bedi Makim ve'onshim. כי הנמצא עולם שמם. He says, לא נחרבה ירושלים אלא שבעדנו בא דין תורה. And Asaf wrote a book, העונשין אחרי התלמוד. Wow. What happened to what we learned in the Talmud? They put, they did corporal punishments and all kinds of things. So I agree. That's what I mean. Here in Moreh Nevuchim, he's binded to Din Torah to explain. And you see it Ayin Tachat. It's in the same chapter. He says, I have an explanation, but I won't tell you. I won't tell you that.
Only in person. I'm buying. I'll tell it to you.
So he's very careful. He's very careful when he explains the rules of the Torah. If it's the practical law, I agree with you. And actually, the second project we're doing now with Calabresi, the new one, is the rules, the law and economic rules, how to deal with these issues. How to deal with these issues. I find the tshuvot, that's not Maimonides. The deal, for instance, if you have this king, the tshuvot of Ashkenazim in two places, the king gives a knas to all the Yehudim, they need to pay this, if not he exile them all. What should we do? Maybe take an advance from the rich people, and afterwards
there's a Rashba.
There's also a Rashba. Yeah. There's also a Rashba.
He spoke here about Benny Parat spoke about this Rashba.
Okay.
Benny is busy with tzedakah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is actually another rule of Calabresi, the fourth rule, that says that sometimes this is something that he thought he invented. The victim has the right to pay to the tortfeasor that he can clear him up from here. I mean,
what do you mean example?
הדוגמה הכי טובה היה בארצות הברית, there was מכלאה עם הרבה בקר, כן, a lot of cattle,
Right.
and a lot of, and then someone, Del Webb, someone put a neighborhood there. Okay, but they were first. You can't tell them go because they were first. But he has the right to pay compensation for them.
Oh, that's a famous thing. The neighborhood has the right to buy him out.
Yeah, and I found a parallel. That's it, lo yachpol. You have the same idea in lo yachpol, עם האילנות. והעיר, שעם שלא קדמה וכו', אז הם מסלקים אותו, נכון? קודם כל מסלקים אותו, and then afterwards they pay. Why is that? Say, kider de beishut fe, lo karera velo chanina. That's an economic concept. It's very hard to collect from all the people. Yeah, so we'd rather, yeah, and they learn this posting from that. So this is example from these concepts you can learn a lot. And I agree with that, but here he explains the rationale of Dinei Torah, and I'm sure he believed in this model. I don't think there's a better model.
This is classic Rambam and all the mitzvot in the Sira know that.
Look, you have Halbertal,
Listen what he's going to say, how he understands that.
Halbertal, for instance, when he saw that, he gave me another example. Even the way, I agree with you, Rambam explains Dinei Tohara, and you want us to have respect for the Mikdash. And that's actually consequential point of view. Let's give rules that you won't be every day, so you have this.
The same idea, yeah.
The same idea, just in the.
Very interesting. Habakkuk gave this example, another way of like preventing, but like צופה פני עתיד. Seeing the future. Very interesting. And you want to say this is interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, you see it.
You also see it when you bring out the Klei Mikdash, once a year, you don't want to abuse the excitement.
Look, he looks.
You treasure it.
You can see he's a doctor. You can see he looks
Psychology.
He looks, and this is his methodology. I think the example of Kefel Arba v'Chamisha is really special. You don't want to learn here what are the different scholars today, how to put them in which scale, but this is the same idea. So there's a lot of economic thoughts especially in social, in Moreh Nevuchim, less in Mishneh Torah.
כל זה על דרך האמת.
כל זה על דרך האמת.
We still pay reparations for the slaves. We're still paying for the slaves and for the Indians.
What do you mean?
Reparations.
In the States.
Because we took over their lands and we used them.
So because we don't want to make slavery again? What are you saying?
It's not, no, so that's not preventative.
Right.
So let's have a conclusion and then more questions.
Maybe it is preventative.
Though Maimonides' tort theory in the guide is not consequentialist comprehensive theory, the element of consequentialism in his theory is solid and fundamental, notwithstanding the concurrent existence of other elements that cannot be ignored. In punitive damages, this element is strongly emphasized. Reading Maimonides' text, look, he explains, just remember, if you look on all the chapters, unbelievable. Why al-nashim of arayot inside the family are much higher than
incest is much higher.
Because this is we build a society through the family. So if we're not strong in the family, we can. So we always. Reading Maimonides' text in the Guide in Light of Contemporary Methods can provide us with new contemporary interpretation of Maimonides' tort theory. We saw a certain proximity between consequentialist approach, Maimonides and the issue of punitive damages, and the economic multiplier approach, and the idea of societal redress. There's another, we didn't say, but there's another philosophy, societal redress. You pay punitive damages because you made damage to society, not to individuals. That's the idea. You pay 4 or 5 because you're paying not for the damage you made to an individual, you pay for society. Actually, I think this is what Maimonides said here. הראשון חומרת הפשע, כי המעשים שנוצר מהם קלקול גדול, עונשם חמור.
Which number is it? Sorry.
Page number 3.
והעונשים מעשים שנוצר מהם קלקול פעוט ומועט, עונשם קל. We see the side effect. We see the effect, not specific on the individual.
Social justice?
Yeah?
That was the first parameter that we...
Yeah.
Isn't that the first parameter?
Yeah.
And you said ontological, you said when you...
Yeah.
I was wondering why... That's not ontological.
Look, there's a lot
you
of...
mentioned that.
That's the real ontology.
Look, it shows, it's social... Kathleen Shirky, she was a professor at NYU, and she said the idea of social regress. Yeah? And I think this is what Maimonides is dealing on parameter 1. Yeah? But all the other parameters are deterrence and, let's say, regular law and economics. It's okay?
See, is your word, is Calabresi's word. Who came up with that concept of immediacy?
No, that's mine.
That's your fetish?
It's different. Look, he's not saying cheapest cost avoider. But if you read Maimonides, that's I think it's better than cheapest cost avoider. It's much better than cheapest cost avoider.
All yeshivas, that word.
Look, the first chapter is the downside of the yeshivish reading. And it was very hard for me because I'm yeshivish. Yeah, but the truth is, you saw the truth. Yeah, that's what he wrote, what he thinks about that, and it's a much better theory. It explains a lot of kushiyot in Mishneh Torah. So one of the chapters there, after I come back, from what I read in the guide, come back to Mishneh Torah, explains a lot of things.
Beautiful, thank you so much. It was
You're welcome.
pleasure. And
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Sunday will be on the Rosh, and the day from the Rosh, Darka Shel Rosh is going to be. Yes, Sunday is going to be Darka Shel Rosh.
Rosh is Pilakloim, not like the Rambam, but
the different way. The Rosh legal way.
Point out that the Rambam wasn't so concerned about the Yachid, concerned about the society. Because
you see it in Molay, in the third part.
In a lot of places, but over here he said also that. Because like someone
Tikkun Aduf is
because it's a collective, not the Yachid.
Thank you very much.
The Yachid should bring that. Should do it, but doesn't have the same thing that he's gonna sell it afterwards and buy the parts. But the ownership is still the same.
Look, it starts, and I wrote it, I brought the sources. Everything starts from Tikkun HaNefesh, Tikkun HaGuf. Tikkun HaGuf, Rambam says it has 2 things. Midot and utilitarian. In this chapter, for instance, he explained the same chapter, Kibud Avayim. Why do you do Kibud Avayim? He's playing always with that. That's source number 4. Let's end with that. He's always playing, and I think it's the same thing we saw. Limnoa Mezakim on the one hand, that's utilitarian, and Hasarat Avlot. That's, let's see how he explains Ashavat Aveda, the same chapter, source number 4. עניין השב אבדה ברור, שאם היא אותה מידה מעולה לתקנת החברה, תועלתה, you're always looking about utilitarian. תועלתה חוזרת מידה כנגד מידה, שאם לא תשיב את עבודת זולתך, לא תושב עבודתך. כמו שאם לא תכבד את אביך, לא יכבד אותך בנך, וכיוצא בזה הרבה.
Makes for a good world.
He's explaining it in Calabresi's ways, law and economics.
Right.
The moral.
It prepares us for Yemos Mashiach, all these laws. A perfect world where everybody's kids and everybody gives back and everybody.
It's good for the world.
It's good for the world.
Society.
It doesn't always work.
Sometimes someone is mechaber his father, and his son is not mechaber him. Doesn't always.
Right.
Okay,
That's because
we're saying this mitzvah because it's good for the world. He's not talking about it. He starts with the midot, but as you said, he's looking about the society.
Likely it is that the person that has that
you very
incident,
much.
he was not mechavet his father with understanding of the Rambam. He thought he's doing something else. That's the likelihood. Okay, shkoyach.
Thank you so much.